All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about the Jets head coach search and where they're kind of at in that process. Nate in the chat says, I agree. If you're still there, can you clarify on what you agree on? If it's, I guess, what I was talking about at the end, well, in the last segment, of course, with the highest paid QBs and how, it was kind of a disappointing year collectively for them. But to talk about the Jets, so, they're kind of really taking their time with this. They're being, I guess you want to say, thorough with the process because they're also looking for a new GM too. And they have interviewed a lot, or set to interview a lot of candidates. Now, when it comes to who they've interviewed, so they did interview Mike Vrabel, but of course he's going to the Patriots. But you had Ron Rivera, Rex Ryan, Matt Nagy, Steve Spagnuolo, Aaron Glenn, Brian Griese. They requested to interview him, Vance Joseph, Josh McCown, Brian Flores, Bobby Slowick, Arthur Smith, Darren Rizzi. Those are all requested, and Joe Brady as well. Jeff Ulbrich also gave him another interview, but it's not going to be him. It's a lot of candidates, and on top of that, like I said, they're looking for a GM as well. Rex Ryan, it seems like he is going to be out of it, which, look, from a non-Jet fan perspective, I would have loved to have seen Rex come back and see him be successful. If Rex was to come back, I would want him to do well. I would not want it to flop. I would want him to come back and try to turn this thing around. But it's not going to happen. He's been out of the game for too long, and this is really the only job that he wants, and it's not going to happen. But for some of the other candidates, you got Ron Rivera, who's been out of the league for a couple of years now. Actually, no. When was the last time he coached? Was it last year? Because he was with the Commanders most recently. I think the last time he coached. Oh yeah, no, it was last year. Yeah, because they went 4-13. It was last year. Or 2 years ago now. But yeah, it was with Carolina for most of his coaching career, and then from 2020 to 2023, he was the coach of the Washington football team, and then the Commanders. But yeah, it never finished with the winning record. Did win a division? That was in 2020. That was when the NFC East was the NFC least. The Commanders the football team went 7-9. Then the following year went 7-10. Then went 8-1 in 2022, and then last year 4-13. Yeah, so not great. So I don't think the Jets should bring in Ron Rivera. Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, made the playoffs with the Bears, has a winning record. I don't think so. Spags, I think he's a good defensive coordinator. I don't know about a head coach. Aaron Glenn and Brian Flores. It seems like those are the two guys that are the favorites to get the job. Now, Aaron Glenn, supposedly, the Jets are his top pick. And he is, of course, the defensive coordinator for the Lions. And, I did watch a little snippet of him talk about how, he is a defensive coordinator, but, he also talks to the offense. Like, if he were to get a head coaching job, he would talk to both. Obviously, defense is a specialty, but you also want to have input on the offense as well. I did like what he said in that little clip there that I saw last night. But ultimately, it's going to come down to, if you get the job, are you able to do it? Are you able to perform that? Because for me, I feel like the Jets need to go with offense. Now, it's kind of funny, though, because if you go back and, from Rex Ryan, they went from Rex Ryan, defensive guy, to Todd Bowles, who was a defensive guy. Then Adam Gase was an offensive guy, and then they went back to defense with Robert Saleh. And it just didn't work out. It's really all about, when you look at that, though, like again, I think the Jets should go with an offensive guy, but if you bring in the right guy, no matter what background they are, then it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And Aaron Glenn is coming from the Lions. If it is him, he's coming from the Lions, and they have really built a culture there, and he could bring some of that culture to the Jets. Now, some Jet fans talk about changing, rather the culture changing the karma. Maybe he changes the karma, but Aaron Rodgers wasn't able to do it. But there was more than just, it had more than just karma when it came to the Jets. It also had to do with the level of play, and it wasn't up to par. Even though I don't think Rodgers was as bad as people, say he was. I think, when he was healthy, he played well. But yeah, it wasn't what they were. It wasn't what the Jets wanted. But yeah, can Aaron Glenn, if it is him, can he come over and finally, put the Jets in the right, point the Jets in the right direction? Now, Brian Flores is also another option as well, and spent some time with Pittsburgh, then was with the Vikings after his time in Miami, and probably learned a lot from that experience. And I think at some point he will get an opportunity to coach another team again. I think of the candidates that I just listed off, those are the top two. But it looks like maybe Aaron Glenn could be the guy that the Jets end up going with, because he wants to go there, and he has a connection with them. So I guess right now you would lean towards Aaron Glenn. Yeah, so this is, I think I have the quote here. Yeah, so this is from the Daily News, an article here, if I can, but now I got all this stuff popping up because I wanted to read the quote that he said. So he basically said, I'm a coach, I just coach defense, is what I was getting at. But now I don't know where the quote is. And again, this thing popped up in the article that I'm looking at, so now I can't even read what it said. But yeah, he said, I'm a coach, I just happen to be on defense. I understand the offense just as well as a number of people. So, I mean, yeah, it's, you could say, well, you got to go out there and prove it, like I said. But, that's what some people point to with Robert Saleh, is just he didn't really get offense. So if Aaron Glenn is right with what he's saying, then, he could be an upgrade over Robert Saleh. And I did like the Saleh hire when it first happened, because, of the energy that I thought he was going to bring to the Jets. Because, when he was with the 49ers, I mean, he's, going crazy on the sidelines when he was the defensive coordinator. And we didn't get that version of Robert Saleh with the Jets, I feel like. And again, I have a lot of Jet fans that are friends and family. So, it would be nice. Well, I want both New York teams to be successful, because then we're all happy. But, they, like at least with the Giants won a playoff game, a few years ago. The Jets, last time they won, I was in elementary school, so they're hoping that this could be the right guy. If it is, that's why they're going through this whole process of interviewing as many people as they can. So if it is Aaron Glenn, we'll see. We'll see what he brings to the table as a head coach. But you're bringing someone over from a culture that is really good. You're bringing some of that Dan Campbell magic over to the Jets. And we'll see if it works. But the Jets, it's a lot more than just a head coach. You got the GM you're looking for. We got to see who's playing quarterback next year. You have a defense that underperformed. There's a lot that the Jets have to work on. And the other thing, too, is, you got an owner that has had a lot of input, maybe a little too much input. Might have to take a step back a little bit. If you bring in an Aaron Glenn, and we'll see what they do with GM, let them figure it out, and you just take a back seat. But that's easier said than done. So, yeah, no, it's I'm curious to see how it all plays out. There's still time. we'll have to wait and see the next domino that falls in the head coaching carousel. But the Jets have been, like I said, they've been thorough, maybe a little too thorough with the amount of people that they've interviewed. But they got to get this right. They are a team that has to get it right. If the Giants are going through the same process, I would say the same thing, because they've been going through similar things for a while now. Even though, like I just said, the Giants made the playoffs more recently than the Jets, but still, you got to get it right, because they have been going through head coaches and GMs like crazy. From Rex and Tannenbaum to Idzik and Todd Bowles, and, well, actually, I forgot Mike Maccagnan. Mike Maccagnan to Joe Douglas, and then, you had Robert Saleh and Adam Gase. It's not good. It needs to come to an end. That trend needs to come to an end. You get the right head coach, you get the right GM, and you go from there. Hopefully, if you're a Jet fan. But we'll see what happens. But right now, it looks like we're leaning towards Aaron Glenn being named the coach. It's him and Brian Flores. Now, Brian Flores has head coaching experience, so I guess maybe you lean towards him. But, if Aaron Glenn really wants the job and they like him, then he's their guy. So I'll have to wait and see on that. But let me know what you guys think about the Jets and their head coaching search. Who do you think eventually ends up with the job? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our final break of the show now. And then when we come back, we will talk about who made first team All-Pro. We'll kind of break down first team All-Pro as well as who made second team All-Pro as well. And if maybe, one of the second team All-Pros should have been first team. We'll get into all that when we come back from our final break of the show. So, for one final time today, make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.